A lot of young African Americans in Milwaukee, they don't understand the structural racism and apartheid-like setup that's currently our reality in Milwaukee. They don't understand it, and it's not their fault. A lot of our white counterparts that are young don't understand it. They've not been educated, and they have not been put in positions and placed in different situations in their life where they've been allowed to understand it. Our young African Americans, what they do understand is that we're being starved out of what's happening in Milwaukee, which means they understand that their neighborhoods, in a lot of instances, are where the poverty is concentrated. They understand that in their schools is where the infrastructure is not there. They understand that in other neighborhoods, people have different relationships with police and law enforcement and government. But in their neighborhoods, they understand that we're often in a survival mode. So our young people are often not in a place to have much trust for authority or for politics, because the reality says it was like this when my parents were young teenage African Americans in Milwaukee, and it's like this now. And I see everybody else doing well outside of my little community. 10 minutes that way is a suburb and they doing well. 10 minutes that way in a suburb, they doing well. 15 minutes in the suburb, they doing well. And guess what else? I'm a young person, and I'm clear that when I drive close to that 10-minute border, that suburb, I will very, very, very possibly be pulled over, profiled, and ultimately sent back to my community. I think young people understand the level of hyper-segregation. Every young person, no matter what color or nationality or background they may come from, understands in Milwaukee is hyper-segregated. And it's unfortunate because it's not just geographically, racially segregated, it's economically segregated. And our young people understand that because a lot of their parents are struggling. A lot of their grandparents struggling. And I think that's a reality that when you keep compiling these different statistics and you keep this negative media as it exists in Milwaukee, and a lot of young people only get to see one grim picture. Our young people know that there are many problems that are layered that create these realities that we exist in, and they also understand that a lot of older people in Milwaukee are out of touch with how to create the solutions. One, out of touch with how to create the solutions, or two, they don't want a solution because that would mean a shift in the power dynamic. That would mean a shift in resources. And if people don't want to shift the power dynamic and shift the resources, then we're going to have more generations of people checking out of what are social norms for some people. Social norm may be like voting, for example, right? So we work with young people, high school age people, so they think, prepare them to become voters at 18, register them to vote. Well, guess what? A lot of 17, 18, 19-year-olds, they already understand the level of corruption, hypocrisy, contradiction, racism that comes along with the electoral system locally. I ain't talking about the president, I'm talking about here in Milwaukee. They understand that already. A lot of young African Americans specifically, they're so wise that they've already figured out how to navigate outside of, what we consider traditional society. Because when you're kept out of that, you learn how to navigate outside of it. So a lot of our young people, or a lot of our young African Americans in Milwaukee specifically, they're confused. And also within that confusion, there comes this like self-determined drive and resilience. And also there comes this dangerous level of not being disciplined. But when I was young, I had that same dangerous level of not being disciplined and not wanting to become a part, which I still don't want to, and I won't become a part of a lot of what, is considered social norms, because in Milwaukee, one of the social norms is to act like it's not a racist ass city. That's a social norm in Milwaukee. A social norm in Milwaukee is to act like, this poverty and this social engineering of MPS schools and the prison industrial complex in Wisconsin, how Milwaukee is a police state in our community. People want to act like that's not the reality. Certain people. And so all I'm saying is a lot of our young people are not scared to confront these realities. They don't have a problem with identifying and communicating these realities that, sometimes adults don't want to face for whatever reason. So a lot of our young people, we should listen to them because they're wise and they have a lot to contribute.